Hello everyone. I wanted to come back and speak with everyone again about the crime that I believe with everything within me that has been covered up. There's too many signs to say otherwise. Today marks the 2 years since I was told by my child about the criminal sexual conduct first degree. I feel that the way that the police handled things, I don't believe they followed proper protocols. One reason I say that is because they wanted the cases and the reports, or the reports made, closed as quickly as they opened. I mean, even without giving like a proper investigation. I don't know. I don't feel they gave a full, honest investigation for my child that was only 3 years old. I believe that there was a lot of bribes made even prior to our first 8 to 10 minute forensic interview, just because of how quickly they wanted the case closed and how I was denied the longest period of time the counseling for my child, which made no sense whatsoever. Just like I had spoke about, my daughter had given just a minimal disclosure to me and her siblings and a friend of the family, but of course that wasn't enough information. But when the counselor did get the reports about the objects used to molest my daughter, it still didn't matter. My daughter had not recanted or given a non-genuine recant, and still the police had no probable cause to arrest after 3 different objects, 3, was disclosed to the counselor. Now, there was like, I feel a false allegation made against my son. The counselor did make a report against the accused, the same person that I made the report against. Both of those reports are gone from law enforcement. I filled out the FOIA, Freedom of Information application, and needless to say, I got possibly 4 or 5 sheets of paper, nothing that I asked for, and they didn't sign off on what they gave to me. Why are both of these reports missing? I mean, the counselor from the Rape Crisis Center gave a report that she requested forensic for, and that just where my child had disclosed three different objects she was molested with. The report's gone. I have proof that it exists. As well, I have proof of her false allegation on my son. But at law enforcement, that report is missing as well. The only report that is up at law enforcement is the one that I made. And it has no description. When you flip the report over, it has no description whatsoever. But the one I have, or the several that I have copies of, has the full report of what was said and what was given to the law enforcement from me. But the most current one, nothing. So basically, when you go to the law enforcement center, it appears that I made a report only against the accused. Even after my daughter gave her non-genuine recant, and she kept talking about how when the accused drew on her private area that it tickled and it was fun. The police had already closed the case, I believe, and so had DSS. And so they were disregarding fully what I was saying to them. So either way, when my child is telling me that, you know, this is fun and it tickles when someone is inappropriately touching my 3-year-old, I'm supposed to be okay with that, right? Well, I'm not. I'm not okay with that, because I do know that it was criminal sexual conduct, 1st degree. And I don't care if it tickled or if it was fun. My child does not understand the difference. But law enforcement should understand the difference. And they understand that this is inappropriate touch of a minor child that is, she was 3 years old. 3 years old. How in the hell can you say that's appropriate? It's not. The counselor, the first counselor, started trying to speak of me having PTSD without any, she was not my counselor. She did not have any kind of doctor documentation on that. And her and the law enforcement center both, and the opposed, was claiming that due to my PTSD that I made this report. Okay. Number one, I wasn't in counseling with this counselor. She had no right to give a diagnosis of me, along with law enforcement had no right to give a diagnosis of me. I've had children by 4 different people. I'm judged greatly on that, and I personally couldn't care less. I have never had an issue with one of the fathers other than the last father that I had to be concerned with doing such to my child. So when I say that I've had 4 children and never had to deal with this. I mean, literally, I've never had to deal with this with their fathers. And PTSD that I was not, I mean, they had no diagnosis of that, but they were trying to say that due to the fact that I was shot over 20 years ago, that for some odd reason I was saying and making these claims. I'm not deaf. I'm not blind. And I heard everything my daughter said to me. I heard her at times saying it to her siblings. At times I didn't. She would talk to them in private as well. But no one took those statements. No one. The law enforcement did not take those statements. They did not want those statements because those statements was proof. Honestly, what I watched was law enforcement and the opposed and his counsel, legal representative, whatever, his lawyer, they wanted to taint the evidence by allowing time to pass. And the more time that passed, the better it was for the accused. Let me see. There was several things I wanted to talk about because it's been 2 years today since I learned what happened to my child. Okay. When I was forced to allow my daughter to go unsupervised, that was on December the 15th, 2017, when that began. And due to my second lawyer, that I haven't forgot either lawyer, the corruption, the harm, the damage, and no, you did not protect my child, second lawyer. From December the 15th of 2017, the accused began having unsupervised visits. Before unsupervised visits happened, my child was still expressing comments about the criminal sexual conduct, first degree, even though she had given a non-genuine recant that law enforcement closed a case on where objects were disclosed. Anywho, when these visits, began almost a year ago, well, after so long, my daughter started saying things that I know was coming from her father. She started, at first she still came home and said, that her daddy would not tell the truth. And I said, that's okay. You just tell the truth when you talk to your counselor. You tell the truth if you need to come tell mommy something, and we will go to the counselor so you can tell the counselor. After so long, there was comments that was coming in after she would go to a unsupervised visit. I would send comments that she had told to me upon returning. I would make sure the counselor got those comments and she knew what was being said to my child. My daughter one day came in when she was talking about, some things, and, And she said that she was sorry, that she lied. Okay. My child did not lie. She disclosed criminal sexual misconduct, first degree, for over 3 months, consistently. And even after a non-genuine recant, she still let me know that she was molested, she was inappropriately touched, she had even let me know, that it tickled and it was fun. But after going to months, and, she's still going, of unsupervised visitation, now my daughter says, sorry, Mama, I lied. And, basically, she let me know with tears one day that she did not want her daddy to go to jail. She was upset about that. And so she was, her mind, when she was telling me that, sorry, I lied, and I don't want my daddy to go to jail. Obviously, he said that to her, that if she did not say that she lied, then he would go to jail. So he was concerned about what would hurt him, not what has hurt her. Who else would have said anything about jail? Because I never did, other than the accused. I know for a fact that's who told her that she needed to say that she lied, because he could go to jail. And then he brought the tears on, so he would upset my little girl. So now she doesn't talk about it. She doesn't discuss it, because she says, sorry, I lied. He's got her to doing it just that quickly. And it's okay, because for over 3 months, she said what he did. And she said the inappropriate touch. And I don't care if it was just drawing on her private area with a marker. That was inappropriate touch. That's criminal sexual conduct, and that's a crime. I've talked to SLED, I've talked to the FBI, I've talked to the Columbia DSS, I've talked to multiple representatives, I've talked to the victims of Bundsman, I've talked to the rape crisis centers other than the one I went to. I've talked to lawyers statewide, I've talked to news channels, I've talked to talk shows. The solicitor refused to talk to me, the sheriff refused to talk to me. I've talked to many, many people about this. Due to the fact that I have been in abusive relationships in my past, obviously I was shot. Obvious, you can't cover that up. My ex tries to use that and compare the allegations my child had made against him with somehow he tries to connect these abuse issues in my past to say that I'm lying somehow. But the man that did brutally beat me and he shot me, he nearly killed me. Well, he and I never had any of these issues about him seeing his daughter. He even saw my son that did not belong to him. Of course, we had some issues, but never this type of issue. Never. I trusted him with the children. And yes, it does. It sounds crazy. But yes, I trusted him with the children. Because what happened between him and I was long before my daughter with him came along. And just because he had done something bad to me, I watched him the entire time we were together with his daughter. He is a very protective father, and what he did to me had nothing to do with how he was as a father, how he was a protector, and how he would not harm that baby. So from the accused to try to connect what he was accused of and the past abuse situations I have been in has nothing to do with each other, but he was trying his best, you know, to pick at anything. I did go to SLED over the summer. I took, oh my goodness, it was like so many papers to them, and really didn't get anything out of it other than they were concerned about one comment in the recording of my daughter. And then when they talked to law enforcement, everything was back to nothing. Let me see. There's a few more things I wanted to mention. I know I'm not done making my recordings, but, you know, it's been 2 years. I realized today it's been 2 years. And, it's a long time. But anyhow, like I said, you know, it's almost been a year of him having unsupervised visitation. And, you know, of course, now my daughter, she doesn't want to acknowledge what he's done. Even though prior to that, even with non-genuine recants, she still spoke of it. But now he's got that fixed. I wanted to mention that when DSS was involved, you know, they told me that if I wanted a forensic interview done, that I had to pay for it. They didn't cover that cost and that expense. Anyhow, I'm not that stupid. But anyhow, I've been running into a lot of situations where every other day I realize that they think I am stupid. And even people at the courthouse say stuff that's just absolutely ridiculous that I guess they think I'm too dumb to understand. Anyhow, a forensic interview was never given to my child, not a proper one. And my lawyer did not assure that one was given. Other circumstances I'm not going to discuss right now because I plan to go to court on are inappropriate. And they will be addressed. Even though I'm still forced to take my daughter. The 2-year mark has really hit hard today after I realized it. And I felt like I needed to say something. I wanted to mention that with what my lawyers have done, you know, with the malpractice and working for the opposed, I have filed disciplinary actions, you know, and grievances, and I have filed for the fee resolutions, but it's a joke, or it seems to be. As well, I realized today, no, it was yesterday, I realized that my second lawyer has withheld a lot of my file that I will be getting. I will be writing the board. I've already contacted him, so if he chooses to ignore me and continue to ignore me, he already is. And that's okay. I want all my file, because that proves what you done. But if you don't want to give it up, I guarantee you I can show them. It'll just take a little bit longer, but it's okay, because they're going to get a report soon if I don't have that entire file in my hands soon. So you can mail that on out this week. Thank you. So basically, I wanted to point out, you know, the inappropriate touch is a crime, regardless. I wanted to point out that evidence was intentionally tainted. I do believe, I really feel that was the biggest point in dragging things out and refusing forensic. You know, law enforcement refused that forensic after 3 objects was disclosed by my child to a counselor, not to me, to a counselor. But that forensic was refused. You know, she was ready to talk because she didn't understand why she was drug off into the room the first time for 8 to 10 minutes. But she had 1 session, and the counselor let her know it was okay and that she could talk to the people that were going to give the forensic interview, and it never happened. Just like the one that my second lawyer and the guardian ad litem said would happen, never happened. They never told me how to have it set up. DSS said I had to pay for the forensic if I wanted it. They didn't cover that cost. Anyhow, basically, I have been silenced. That's what they wanted. That's what they demanded. And they told me if I didn't shut up, they'd take my child from me. Why no arrest was made after the counselor gave her report, the first counselor that told about 3 objects used to molest, why no arrest was made, why that was not probable cause, I don't know. I mean, I need someone to tell me, because, you know, I don't know the laws, but I'm not stupid enough to know, to not believe that that is probable cause right there. There was no genuine or non-genuine recant at all. And still, they sat back and did nothing. How can anyone corrupt and collude to not protect a 3-year-old child? How can they do that? I mean, unless they're just like, you know what I'm saying. The opposed had told once that he initially did not deny the criminal sexual conduct, 1st degree. He came at it like money will win. And you should know that by now. Well, I don't know. It seemed like he knew that wasn't a good enough comment. Eventually, he started saying that I coached our daughter. He started saying that I'd done it for money. He started saying that the last 3 visits that I brought my daughter to him, that dried feces was on her bottom, and he had to wipe her extremely hard to get it off. Well, my child was bathed freshly each and every time I took her to him, because I did not see no sense in him having to do that. You know, I took her over at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. at night. Why would I take a dirty child to him? And if I was leaving nasty feces all over my child, why in the hell would he not have reported me to DSS and took my child? Another thing is, I want to mention that he's never proven paternity of my child. Ever. We were not married, but for some reason he has visitation. Okay. Just because I allowed him to see my daughter does not mean that he had proven paternity. I had limited them visits for a reason. Reasons I won't go into right now. But the thing is, he was supposed to prove paternity before visitation. It never happened. So why is my child having to go to visitation? I'd love to know. But anyway, I wanted to point out these things. I'm aggravated, yes. Tired of worrying about my child when she goes to visit. And he enjoys making me wait hours upon hours upon hours upon hours before knowing when I might get to speak to my child when she visits. Then he wants to comment that he doesn't get to speak to the child. He never asked to speak to the child. He's let 3, no, actually it was over 4 weeks go by. He never once even asked how she was. He never once even asked to talk to her. But believe me, I'm going to. Each and every time. I do not understand any of this. Lord help me understand. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years today. Well, on the 5th it was. It's probably a little bit later than the 5th right now, going on the 6th. But